Thank you so much, Patricia, and thank you all for being here. And as Patricia said, I am a Family and Consumer Sciences agent, and I am based in the Pasco County UF Extension office. So I'm a little bit north of Tampa. So I do not have access to that meat lab that y'all were just talking about up on campus. But it does sound interesting. So we will go ahead and get started as soon as there we go. All right, so we're going to talk about obviously the budgeting side, but also the health part, right? Because a lot of us want to eat not just on a budget, but eating healthy on a budget. So we'll talk about that too. So as a quick icebreaker, if y'all could just put it in the chat, what did you have for dinner last night? I see chocolate. Lots of pizza, sandwich, salad. Okay, turkey burger, shrimp. All right, so now part two of the question. Was it planned or did you just kind of make it up as you go, play it by ear? Did you wing it? Which one? Okay, a mix, planned, not planned. So for those that didn't plan but made something nice, that is talent. I cannot come up with something very last minute without it being all planned out. All right, awesome. And then I had another question, but we kind of covered that as people were trickling in about how do you save on groceries. So I know a lot of you talked about the BOGOs and like shopping at Aldi and that kind of stuff. So those are all really great ideas. So to start us off, I don't know if any of you are familiar, but the USDA actually has what they call these food plans, and they have them broken down by low cost, moderate cost, and the liberal cost plan. And the what you see here on this slide is based on a family of four, and this is the cost for eating all your meals at home. So this is not eating any meals or snacks outside of the house. And basically what you would do is you would add up all these numbers and get what a weekly or monthly cost would be. Again, for a family of four. If you're a family of a different size, don't worry, we're going to come to that in a second. But again, these are the three different levels of the plans. They even have a thrifty plan, and that's what the USDA bases the SNAP dollars based off of. But as far as those that are not using SNAP benefits, these are the three different levels that the USDA comes up with. I know these are February numbers. They do them a month, or they came up with them in March, and they do it from a month behind, so they don't have the March numbers yet. Now, as far as calories, this is for children, this is 2 through 18. Right. Throughout our lifespan, we need different calorie amounts, and it also depends on how active we are. So this is youth, but I'll also show adults, and it's different for males and females, not just for age, not just for activity levels, but also our genders. So this is basically, it's not going to be exact because maybe you're pregnant, maybe you're trying to put on weight, maybe you're trying to lose weight, whatever it is. But this is a rough idea of how many calories you need every day. So, ladies, as you see, we need less than males. So that means if your husband is going up for seconds or thirds, we don't necessarily have to follow their lead, right? We don't need as much. It just physiologically, males need more calories than females. So we want to make sure we're staying within our calorie range, simply because if we're getting too much, obviously, then we might have a calorie imbalance and we might start gaining weight. So again, we're talking about healthy eating here too. So being mindful of calorie levels. And then I show this slide. So here's easy snacks. A lot of us think of snack food as something that comes out of a package, and it can be pricey. And then along with that, it's not nutritious, and it just gave us a lot of calories to the point where maybe we're snacking too much that we could be getting too many calories in a day. So think your chips, your cookies, Cheetos, snack cakes, right? Anything out of a crinkly package. And again, they are pricey and they add up over time into your food budget. So trying to pay attention to how you're getting, especially snack foods. So then I show this. Have you all heard of calorie dense foods or empty calories? So you might have heard these terms before. So empty calories, you can see this easily on this little infographic here, right? So the empty calories, they fill us up, but they provide no nutritional value, right? Soda, candy, versus the nutrient-dense foods, which are low in calories, high in vitamins and minerals. So maybe they don't fill us up as easily because they're lower in calories. So we need to eat bigger portions to feel full, but that's fine if we have bigger portions on these because, again, they're lower in calories and they have lots of nutritional value. So you want to focus all your meals and snacks on the nutrient dense side. Now, can you have these empty calories? Yeah, once in a while, moderation is key. So once in a while you can have the cookie or the donut, but you don't want it to be your go-to snack or your go-to dessert. You want to limit this, maybe not have it in the house, have it just as a treat. Maybe if it's somebody's birthday at the office, you can have one, right? But if you shop for it, it's expensive and it's not doing anything for you nutritionally. So going back over to food budgeting. So there is a recommendation. They say 10 to 15% of your take-home pay should go towards food. And that's both at home and at restaurants or at convenience stores, like if you're getting snack foods at a gas station, let's say. However, that recommendation may not be all that applicable because, again, how big's your family size? And are you living in a high cost of area location, right? So there's a few different factors that come into play. So we're actually going to do an activity soon that focuses on your exact family size. So if you haven't, one idea as far as paying attention to how much you're spending on groceries is just tracking it for at least 2 weeks, maybe a whole month if you can, and see, did you spend more outside of the house on food versus at the grocery store? Did you run out of food before the end of the month? Or on the opposite side, did you throw out too much food by the end of the month? Is it spoiling too fast? Do you have a lot of leftovers? Are you utilizing those leftovers? Just trying to get an idea of how you're using your food. And this is where meal planning comes in too, because if you don't have a plan and you just have all this food in your fridge, it might be hard to get an idea of how you planned for that meal and how you're utilizing your food dollars. Also, I'll try to make pauses here and there just so that we can take any questions or comments. Okay, perfect. All right, so I want you all, if you have your phone next to you, scan this QR code. I want you to fill out this is from Iowa State Extension, and they have, as we saw, those USDA numbers. This is actually going to be not based on the family of four, but on your family size. Enter all the info for your family. It wants their age, their gender, and how often they eat outside the home. So if you have kids that eat school lunches, right, factor that in. Fill that out, and then we'll discuss. If you have any questions or if the QR code's not working for you, let me know. So it should look like this grocery budget calculator. I'll go back to the QR code though, if anyone still needs it. And again, you're just going to go through your family size, their age, their gender, and how often they're eating outside the home. And that number is going to tell you what a realistic grocery budget should be for your household. And then Lisa asked a good question. She said, does this include other things, the non-grocery items? And the answer is no. So if you're also buying your cleaning supplies, hygiene products, and all that, along with your groceries, that would not be factored into this. So with that being said, you might have a little bit more wiggle room based on what that number that came up. You might think, oh, maybe I'm not going over like I thought, or maybe you are. So let me come out of, let me go to the next slide. If anyone else still needed that, the website is in the chat. Somebody put it in there. So based on that, that number that just came up for you, how does this recommend, or how does this number measure up to what you're actually spending? Are you over, are you under, or are you right around there? And how does the 10 to 15% take-home pay rule play into this? Would you say you're around that or over or under? And when you think about that 10 to 15% rule, remember that does include restaurants. So you might not have much room for shopping or for eating out at restaurants if you were to be strict about that 10 to 15% rule. So if anyone wants to share, how did they do? Were they under or if they think of their current grocery budget, are they at that number that the website said, or were they under, or were you over? Little over, about the same. Okay, so a lot of you are somewhat over. Josie said she buys meat once a year. Oh, that'll definitely help cut costs down. All right, so variation, a little under, a little over. So if you don't have oh, somebody said close to their spending, but you do have food waste. Yeah, so if you look over at your grocery budget, and if you don't even pay attention to it, that's definitely a good idea too. So if you pay it on your, say your debit or credit card, pull up your bank statements and look at how much you're spending at the grocery store and try to get an idea. And then again, you can go through um, this budgeting calculator again for your food budget, and then you can see how you're doing. And if you are going too much over, that's when you would want to really see what can you cut back on. Are you spending too much on snacks? Are you not meal planning? And again, that's just a useful tool to let you know what a realistic grocery budget should look like for you and your family size. All right, so now let's get into the steps for for your healthy eating. Now you know what the budget should look like. We talked about calories, right? So let's talk about the first step. You want to meal plan. If you're not doing this, you want to try to get into the habit. So the very first step, though, is shop what's in your fridge and pantry first. You don't want to buy duplicates, first of all. And second of all, you might be able to create an entire meal based on what you already have. So you'd want to start there and then plan your menu from there. So planning out what meals and snacks you'll have for either the week or for the next 2 weeks or the month, however you break up your grocery shopping by. And it might take a few months to really nail this down. You might underplan, you might overplan, you might go under budget, over budget, right? So give yourself a few months of some trial and error. There's lots of different ways to find quick and easy recipes. MyPlate.gov is an easy one, very user-friendly, and lots of extension universities have recipes. So you can just go on Google and find those that way. I'll show a real quick uh, demo on myplate.gov in a sec. And also think about meals that stretch because you want to see how you can try to get extra food. So anything that's like a liquid-based food, stir fries, casseroles, soups, stews, these are going to go further versus like a burger, right? Like a burger is one burger versus like a bowl of soup. You might be able to get a few bowls out of that if you were able to stretch it. And then we all know about leftovers, but they say plan them out so that you're making extra servings and have them actually, you could just call them planned overs. You're planning to have extra food, and this way you don't have to cook. You can either have it a few days later or freeze it for the following week or later that month. And the thing is, you don't have to cook 7 nights a week. That's hard to do. So not just trying to get planned overs, or maybe you're cooking 6 or 5 nights a week, but what are some just easy no cook meals like a salad or sandwiches, grilled cheese, paninis, that kind of stuff. And then of course, meat is very expensive. So going meatless can help cut on your food budget. So you can do some plant-based proteins instead of the animal proteins. And then of course we all know looking for sales and coupons. And then once you have everything planned out, go ahead and then make your grocery list. So again, you're shopping your fridge and pantry first because again, you don't want to shop for duplicates. So I'm going to see if I can get, oops. All right, I'm going to get out of this for a second. I just want to show you all real quickly how this myplate.gov website works. So if you haven't gone here, y'all can see the this website.
Yes, you're good.
Okay, thanks. All right, so if you go to My Plate Kitchen and then just go to recipes, and then down here for total cost, it'll tell you less than $3 a serving, 3 to 5.99 a serving, etc. It has it broken down by cost. So let's say you want something that's going to be under, what was it, under $3 a serving? Yeah, less than $3 a serving, and you have like ground beef. Oops. You have ground beef, it's about to go bad, you need ideas, you're trying to get into this whole meal planning thing. And then it gives you a few ideas. Now, again, because meat's expensive, there's not a whole lot. But if you were to go to the next price point, you have a bit more options. All right. And then you can just, again, go by that. Can you make a chili? Can you make a rice dish, a noodle dish, all kinds of stuff based on that ground beef that you have in your fridge. And you can type all kind, it could be chicken. Maybe you have chicken that's about to go bad. Just type that in, and now you have a whole bunch of ideas, and it tells you the price points so you can get an idea of how expensive it might be. So that is one website. If you go to this myplate.gov, that's one website that'll really help with eating healthy and budgeting, because again, it has the different price points. So if you were trying to get a certain food group too, you can break it down that way, getting more protein, getting more dairy, etc. All right, so let me get back into this. All right, so My Plate, hopefully you've heard of that. These are the 5 food groups, and it's good to try to think about all these food groups as you're meal planning. All right, so with your fruits and vegetables, getting a lot of different color variations, getting, again, nutrient-dense foods, not those empty calories, and knowing your recommended amounts. So it might be 2 cups of fruits, 3 cups of vegetables per day, and the myplate.gov website will they actually have an activity that I don't think we'll have time for, where it can tell you how many recommended amounts you need. And then for a meal, get at least 3 food groups. And for a snack, get at least 2 food groups. You don't have to have all 5. 5 is better, but that might be hard to do. And again, with the cost of groceries, it might be hard to get all 5 food groups in a meal. And then just a quick note here too, fiber and protein are going to help you feel full. So if you have breakfast, and let's say you're hungry before lunchtime, it might be because you did not have enough fiber and protein in your breakfast. So think of ways to increase these 2 nutrients, and you'll hopefully be able to go longer, have a longer stretch of time, and make it all the way to lunchtime. Because again, if you're eating a lot of snacks, that can eat into your grocery budget. So getting plenty of fiber and protein. All right, so let's say this is your fridge, you're getting ready to make your meal plan. What food groups do you see? What kind of meals or snacks could you plan based on what's in this refrigerator? Try to get creative. What ideas? Share it in the chat as ideas pop in your head.
A stir fry.
Yeah, stir fry, there's lots of vegetables, veggie omelets, yeah, salads.
Like veggie muffins.
Oh yeah, I haven't had those veggie muffins, but I know what you're talking about, and they're good for like toddlers too when you're trying to sneak in vegetables for them. Yeah, yeah, you can do a lot with this. Perfect. Yeah, a lot of you are getting some good ideas, like a veggie
Yeah.
soup, salad. Yeah.
Protein, omelets.
Yeah, yeah, because there was eggs. Right, there's dairy. So just right off the bat, you already have a lot of ingredients, so you don't have to shop for these things. And now you can start meal planning some of the ideas as you all just discussed. All right, so now let's say you want to get the sales ad pulled up for, let's say, Aldi. So now you have your ideas based off what's in your fridge, and now you're going to see what's on sale. So now based on both of these, what kind of meals and snacks would you plan for the week ahead? And as more ideas hit you, feel free to put them in the chat. Yeah, you can do smoothies. Yeah, you can get, we got milk in the fridge and we got strawberries on sale. We can do a smoothie. Meatloaf, roast with veggies, chicken. Yeah, yeah, all kinds of ideas. Now, if you see in the fridge, though, there's a lot of citrus. So maybe you don't need to get the grapes and the strawberries if you just like having fruit as like your go-to snack, because you don't want the citrus to go bad and you already have it. So just because something's on sale, you don't want to go overboard and buy it for the sake that it's being on sale, right? You want to make sure you're actually going to use it up before it goes bad, because if you're going to have a lot of food waste, then that was also dollars wasted too. All right, so getting creative again with what you already have and what is on sale at the places you shop at. Okay, so along with meal planning, you have to also think about your schedule, your spouse's schedule, your kids' schedule, right? Because you can't say you're going to cook X amount of nights per week if you're not going to be home, right? A lot of us have a lot of after work commitments. So here's an example where everyone's home on a Monday, so you're going to cook a meal. And maybe Sunday night you prepped for it, and you're going to make extra batches of this Monday night meal. In this example, it's fajitas, and you'll make extras so that there's lunches throughout the week. And then let's say the next day the wife has a after work commitment or she's going to be working late. So that means dad is on dinner duty, and it was planned out that stir fry would be Tuesday night's dinner. And again, extras will be made for the coming days. And then the next day, Wednesday, both the husband and wife are home. So you're going to make something easy like salad. There's no cooking involved, but you're going to prep a slow cooker meal. And that's because Thursday, there's a school event that you all are going to with your child. So you're not going to be home. It's going to be too rushed when you get home. So you're just going to have that slow cooker dish that you prepped for on Wednesday. So Thursday is easy, no cooking involved at all. And then Friday, maybe the husband has a post-work commitment, so the wife is going to be on salad duty that night. Again, no cooking involved. And then on the weekends, both of you are available, right? Both spouses. So again, you have to see what your schedule is going to be like. That's why I said it takes a little bit to nail this down between your schedules and the meal planning and the budgeting. There's a lot at play, but you'll eventually get down to it. And then a lot of families will say they kind of have like 12 or 15 like just go-to rest or meals. They know the recipes, they know what they need. They have a lot of things on hand, like onions already that they keep year-round in their pantry, right? So you'll get to that point. And then with shopping strategically, right? Somebody did say this earlier in the chat that they don't go grocery shopping when they're hungry. And that's because when you're hungry, everything looks good. And you're not going to stick to your grocery list when you're hungry because you're just going to load up your cart. So just having, again, your meal plan and then your list, they're two separate steps, right? You're going to have your meal plan and then coming up with your list of items. So sticking to your list. Remembering to purchase refrigerated and frozen or freezer foods last, and that's just because for storage purposes, you want to keep them fresh. Sticking to your list, as we said, if something is not on your list, avoid those aisles, right? So if you're trying to get really healthy snacks and not like chips and sodas and stuff, stay out of those aisles. Have all your coupons with you. If you use any of the store apps, again, have the apps on your phone pulled up and ready to go. Also looking at unit prices, which we'll talk about in a second. And again, store brands are going to be cheaper than the national brands. However, if you see a national brand as a buy one, get one free, it might make more sense than to get the national brand. And then buying in bulk, which again is you might see savings, but only if you will use that food up. Don't want to have too much food waste. So let's go a little bit now into unit prices. Do y'all pay attention to unit prices at the store? Okay, good. So there's the retail price, which is what you pay, but the unit price is the cost usually per ounce. So in this example, we have three different feta cheeses. In the first one, it's saying this 4-ounce feta cheese crumble is $2.99. And per ounce, so if you were to squeeze that product ounce by ounce, that is 74.75 cents per ounce. In the next one, this 8-ounce chunk of cheese is 66.13 cents per ounce. And then the last one, it's actually the same price, but it's at 6 ounces, and that's 88.17 cents per ounce. So you want to look at this to find the value. So based on the value, the middle one, this feta cheese chunk is the you'll get the most bang for your buck. However, the others are, or this first one was a crumble, so you have to do some labor in the feta cheese chunk. But again, you're paying for that convenience. So if you can do the crumbling yourself, you'll see savings that way. All right, so again, looking at the unit price, again, we call this the unit price. Here it's not as distinct, but some stores too, they'll have it like off to the side with like an orange box or a yellow box, and it'll calculate it for you. So let's look at an example. All right, so where's the better value? We're looking again at unit price. So the price divided by, in this case, the ounces. So this 32-ounce tub of yogurt or the 6-ounce container of yogurts. Where would there be more value for your food dollars? Yeah, the 32. So if you did the math, if you pulled up a calculator, you saw that it was 5 cents per ounce for the big container and 12 cents per ounce for the little container. Again, there's more convenience. Maybe you're going to eat on the go and just grabbing this little 6-ounce container is convenient versus scooping out the big container and putting it in a little Tupperware to eat on the go. But you'll see that there's more value. So your food dollars go further per ounce on the big container. However, again, pay attention to your family size, the expiration date, right? If you're not going to finish this before it goes bad, then you did not see any savings because you just ended up throwing it away. Yeah, somebody said they put the unit pricing in tiny print. Yeah, it is good to do this. And I see it a lot with groceries, but not so much like the hygiene products. So if you wanted to do this, like say with a bottle of shampoo, once you know how to get that calculation, you can see where there's more value, in a 12-ounce container versus 16-ounce, etc. So it's good to do this and just know how to do it and what it means. Sometimes I do grocery store tours and people never knew what the unit pricing was. And they were like, I never knew what that number off to the side was. So it's good to know. It's good, helps us as consumers get the most for our grocery budget. All right. So with shopping strategically, a little bit more on this. So if the fresh produce is too expensive, and if it's not in season, it might be hard to fit it in your budget, but remember that frozen and canned count too. Those all count towards your fruit and vegetable consumption, dried and dehydrated as well. So there's different ways to get fruits and vegetables if the fresh is too pricey. And again, buying what's in season. So now that we're in April, we're going to see a lot of berries and we're coming into summer. So we're going to see watermelon soon, right? Summer squash. These would be more in season. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at, oh, somebody said about the different units and they make it difficult. Yeah, when it's different units, it might be hard because you're not looking at ounces necessarily. But if you can get it down to ounces, like if it's in pounds, it might be easier to do for the unit price. Sorry, I was just going based on that comment that I didn't see right away. And then again, with pre-cut fruits and vegetables, you're paying for the convenience and you're paying for the labor that somebody else did at the grocery store. So just know if you're going to buy those, it will affect your grocery budget. Now, again, time is money. If you don't have the time, it might make sense then to get this pre-cut, but then you'll see that in your grocery budget. So again, it'll take some playing around and you get more into meal planning and budgeting and seeing what works for you and where your time is best spent. And then a lot of low cost items to have year round, lots of different beans, canned beans or dried beans, different vegetables, apples and bananas for fruits. Those are pretty affordable. Oats, right? Again, all those food groups. Now, there's lots of store apps and third-party apps too that people use to see savings at the grocery store. Does anybody use any of these or any similar ones that they want to, if they're not listed here, anyone want to share in the chat a different one they might be using? So some of us are not using the store apps or third-party apps. So I'll just say personally, I was using one of these and it kind of became just too much for me to keep track of. So I stopped using it, but a lot of people say they will see savings. Oh, somebody asked about working with Trader Joe's. Does Trader Joe's have their own, they might have their own store app. I bought a
They
Winn-Dixie
have an app, but
Rewards.
they do have the flyers thing that they release. It's like a paper thing.
Yeah. Um, I think with a lot of these third-party apps, they are name brand or national brands. So if it's not a brand that Trader Joe's carries, then it might not be applicable to Trader Joe's or any particular store. Like Aldi, they have different brands that you might see on these. Oh, and there's, yeah, somebody's talked about a Facebook group for couponing. Yeah, so there's different ways too. Regardless, you would still want to meal plan. And again, you can look at these apps and see what's on sale and try to do some meal planning based on these too. And then just one note that I will make, even though these are free, your information might get sold. So you might start seeing more more ads targeted to you and flooding your email inbox. But if you're okay with that, then yeah, it's definitely worth looking into and trying to see how you can save money based on these apps. Every Wednesday, Publix, the buy one, get one. Yeah, Publix, I think they release their sales ads every Wednesday. And yeah, they do have a ton of buy one, get one frees. So different ways to get savings that way. And then again, going back to your meal planning, you want to have as many cost-cutting meals. So again, meals that stretch. So meal prep on the days you have time. So if you are going to be working late or have your child's soccer game or whatever it is, you're not going to, it's just not realistic to say you're going to meal plan that evening. That would be a better day for like the slow cooker night or like a salad night where you're not cooking. something like that, right? You really got to pay attention to what nights you have the most time. And then again, your leftovers, consider them as planned overs, and then consuming those within 3 to 4 days or freezing them. If you don't have the Food Keeper app, that's a good app that lets you know how long to keep food before it goes bad. Because at the same time, you don't want to throw away food if it's still good. Some people think, within a couple of days the food is bad and they throw it out. And food waste is a big issue too. So making sure you're consuming food before it goes bad and not throwing it away while it's still good. And as I said earlier, the liquid-based meals help you really stretch your food. So chilies and soups and stews, those are going to help make sure you get enough planned overs for the week ahead. And then doing your own labor, of course, doing your own cutting of the meats and the fruits. Maybe you can make your own trail mix, that kind of stuff. And paying attention to your family's crazy schedule. Because again, we all have crazy, crazy schedules between us and our kiddos. All right, so with making changes, cooking larger portions in advance, or having leftovers and thinking, what can you do with those leftovers? So if you have extra meat, maybe you make a taco salad one night and wraps the next night or something along those lines, right? So what can you do with those leftovers? Also, sodas, just a note on sodas. We talk about being healthy. Soda can be very expensive. So if you drink water, you're instantly saving money and cutting out calories because a lot of us drink our calories. And you want to be mindful of that too, as far as going over on your daily calorie limits. And then focusing on more healthy snack foods and not so much the chips and cookies. So if we want at least two food groups in a snack, that could be like apples and peanut butter, or celery and hummus, or a fruit with mixed nuts, right? That would be a better snack versus cookies. And then again, you're not going over on calories. All right, so I want to do a quick activity and we do have time. So Patricia, if you can put in the first one, I want you to think about what meals you could make in the coming week. All right, so create a grocery game plan. What is your game plan? Patricia's going to drop this in the chat, and I want you to think it over. You don't have to fill it out completely, but start thinking about it. Oh, and Patricia got the Food Keeper app. Awesome. Thank you, Patricia. So think about it, and this is something that you can keep handy. And again, with meal planning, you'll probably want to have your spouse involved if you are a two-parent household, because you want to keep track of everybody's schedule, right? And even sit down with your kids and see what their schedule is like, right? What night do they have a tutor? What night do they have to get picked up from this and that, right? Think about everything. Everyone in the family would need to get involved. But thinking ahead, think about what food or what meals you would plan. So, for example, today's Thursday. What are y'all going to have for dinner tonight? Do you have that planned? And if not, again, that's just a habit you want to build. And then, Patricia, if you could drop the other one, the grocery list, in the chat as well. All right. And then Renee asked, can you recommend a site for meal planning ideas? Yeah. So if you Oh, somebody said Pinterest. That's a good one. Yeah, Pinterest has a lot of ideas. As I was showing earlier, if you saw, I was on myplate.gov and I just typed in like chicken and ground beef, and a whole bunch of ideas popped up based on different budget budget ranges. And then lately, this is a new one I've been hearing. People will actually use like ChatGPT and come up with ideas. So if you have like a bunch of green pepper and chicken thighs in your fridge, let's say, and you want to come up with a meal plan, or you're doing your meal plan, let's say, you can just put in ChatGPT, like, what are some ideas for chicken thighs and green peppers? And you might get a lot of creative ideas that way too. Somebody said cook once, eat all week for a cookbook. Oh, thank you, Josie. That's a good one. Trader Joe's has recipes. Yeah, there's so many. All right, so I we have in the chat the weekly plan and the grocery list. Now remember, those are going to be two different steps with your grocery budget, right? So you now know a realistic budget. We went over that. And then you want to come up with your week ahead. And then from there, you create your list. So it is time consuming. It's like, it's just hard as us as consumers. It's a lot, and sometimes it's just easier to get DoorDash or get fast food. But again, that eats into your grocery bud or your food, your overall food budget, and then it might not be as healthy. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error as you get more used to it. All right, guys, we're coming up to the end. I'm actually going to ask you all to fill out a quick survey. And are there any other last minute questions? And one note too, Alicia, you reminded me, if you have little ones and they want fast food or convenient food and, the crinkly package type snacks, it's good to get them involved with all the parts of the groceries. So sit down with them, go over their schedules, go over, have them come grocery shopping with you, have them help with the meal planning, let them help with the menu, let them help with the meal prep. The more involved they are, the more likely they are to want to eat what you're serving them. So if you have picky eaters too, that's a big one, getting them involved in the meal planning, the grocery shopping, etc. All right, so do we have any questions before we head out? We're going to finish a little early today.
I don't see any questions. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for the UFCSA. We do have a community supported agriculture program where we partner with 2 local farms and we offer you a discount as a UF employee. One of the farms, Frogsong Organics, actually delivers across different counties in Florida. So if you're looking to, sign up for a CSA and get local food produce, at a discounted rate, that's an option. The link for that is in the chat as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we can go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much, Shari. I appreciate your time and all the information you've provided to us today.
Thank you.